Brachos Daf Lamed Gimel is broken up by two Mishnayos. From the beginning of the Daf until the first Mishnah discusses the halacha that one should not interrupt his Shemona Esrei even if he has a dangerous animal attacking him. The Gemara will compare different kinds of animals and tell us some halachas about them. Then we have a Mishnah which talks about the proper placement of certain tefillos within Brachos of Shemona Esrei. The Gemara will discuss that at length for a while, including some bits of Agarata about the importance of knowledge and Havdalah, and we'll talk about Kiddush. And we have another Mishnah which lists a number of tefillos, one might say, which are inappropriate, and we should silence him. And the Gemara will discuss why they're inappropriate and bring some other examples. So let's begin the Gemara. The Gemara begins by quoting the halach in the Mishnah that if somebody is in the middle of a Shemona Esrei and he has a snake coiled around his leg, he should not interrupt his Shemona Esrei. So the Gemara says, Rav Sheshes said that's only a snake, but not a scorpion. Scorpions are more likely to sting you. The Gemara will now compare a bunch of different animals and how dangerous they might be. The Gemara says a scorpion, like we said, is more likely to sting you than a snake, so therefore you should interrupt and move away. The Gemara says, well, it's not true, because we have a halacha about somebody whose husband disappeared, a woman whose husband disappeared, and we do not know whether he's alive or he's dead, but we do know possibly what happened to him. So if we have a witness that says that he fell into a lion's den, it doesn't prove he's dead, because maybe the lion wasn't hungry and it didn't eat him. But if he falls into a scorpion's pit or a snake pit, then that is good enough testimony to assume that he died, because they will sting him for sure or bite him for sure. So you see clearly that a snake pit, you can assume that the snakes will bite him for sure. The Gemara says that's different. That's a snake pit that he's falling into. Because he's landing on them with a thump, they're going to bite him. But if it's just wrapped around your ankle, it doesn't prove that they're going to bite you. Then the Gemara discusses a bull. The Gemara says if you see a bull during your Shemona Esrei, you should stop davening Shemona Esrei and you should get out of there. We have a brisa that says you stay away from a tame bull, tam, you stay away 50 amos. And from a mood bull, one who has a record for goring people, you stay away from him as far as you can see. Get out of sight. The Gemara continues something along these lines. The Gemara quotes Rabbi Meir that even if you see a bull eating from a basket of food, you better get out of the way. Even though he's calm and he's happily eating, climb up on the roof and kick the ladder out from under you. What Rashi says it's not literally, just means that you take great precautions around a bull. The Gemara quotes Shmuel, who says, hold on, that's not every type of bull. It's only a black bull in the month of Nisan, because during that time the Satan is hopping around and dancing between his horns. Rashi explains that means that because the grass is fresh after the winter, he's in a very spirited mood and therefore causes a lot of destruction. Now the Gemara quotes a brisa which has an interesting story. The Gemara says that there was an orod. An orod says some kind of a serpent. Rashi says it's a cross between a snake and a lizard, and it was roaming around amongst people and it was hurting them. It was killing people. So the Gemara says that they went and reported to Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa, and he said to them, show me where its hole, where it lives, where its lair is. So they showed him, and he came and he put his foot over the hole, and the serpent immediately came out and bit his foot. And then the serpent died instead of Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa. So Rashi explains that the way this serpent works is that after it bites someone, the serpent and the person have to run for water. And the first one to reach water is the one that will survive, and the other one will die. And a nace happened to Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa, and a spring of water appeared under his foot. So he was the first one to get to the water. Anyway, the Gemara continues the story. Rabbi Chanina picked up the serpent and he put it on his shoulder and he brought it to the Beis Medrash. And he said, look here, it's not the serpent that kills people, it's Averos that kill people. And you see, the problem is not the serpent, the problem is that we are powerless because of our Averos. So if you don't have Averos, you will not have trouble from serpents. That was the implication. And the Gemara says that they said afterwards, woe is to the person who meets this Arad serpent, and woe is to the serpent who meets Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa. Now we get to the next Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the proper placement in Shemona Esrei of the prayer for rain, as well as Havdalah. Now the prayer for rain is divided into two parts. There's one part where we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu for bringing rain. That's not a request, that's just a praise. That goes in the bracha of Tchias HaMesim, right? L'chai HaMesim. Then the request for actual rain, V'sein Talul Motar Levracha, that goes in the bracha about the prosperity for the year. That's Baruch Aleinu. That everybody agrees to. However, where do you put Havdalah? So on that, the Mishnah brings three opinions. The first opinion is the Tanakama, who says that it goes in the fourth bracha, which is the bracha asking for knowledge, understanding, chen and hadas. The opinion of Rabbi Akiva is that it doesn't go into any bracha. It's its own bracha. We add a separate bracha on Motzei Shabbos when we say Havdalah in Shemona Esrei by Ma'ariv. We add a special bracha which includes Havdalah. And then the Gemara brings Rabbi Eliezer, the Mishnah brings Rabbi Eliezer, who says that it goes into the bracha of Moedim. So the Gemara begins by explaining the reason for each of these placements. First of all, mentioning Mashiach Baruch Hu Hageshem, thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for rain. We said that goes into the bracha of Tchias HaMesim, resurrection of the dead. What's the reason for that? The Gemara says, Rav Yosef says, because rain brings the dead to life. Without rain, it's impossible to live. Okay, then we said that asking Hashem for rain, we're saying Talamatu Levracha, that goes into the Birchas Hashanim, the blessing of the prosperity for the year. Or it says because rain is what brings prosperity, it makes things grow, and that drives the economy altogether. Okay, now the Gemara says, what about Havdalah? So Havdalah, we had three opinions. So first of all, the opinion of the Chachamim was that it goes into the bracha of Chen and Hadas, the bracha of knowledge. So what's the reason for that? So Gemara gives two possible reasons. First reason, Rav Yosef, because you need knowledge to be able to do Havdalah. Havdalah is dividing things, being able to tell the difference between things, being able to discern between Kodesh and Chol, holy and unholy, and between pure and impure. For that you need wisdom. So it goes into the bracha of wisdom, asking Hashem for wisdom. However, the Rabbanan say that's not the reason. The reason it's in the fourth bracha is because that is the first bracha that is a weekday bracha. So when we are beginning the first weekday Shemona Esrei and our first weekday bracha, where it's clearly not Shabbos anymore, that's where we put in Havdalah. Now the Gemara brings a couple of things about how wonderful knowledge is. Gemara quotes Rav Ami, who said two things. First of all, he says knowledge is important. As you can tell, it's the first bracha of the week. The first weekday bracha of the entire week is knowledge, and every Shemona Esrei. And the Gemara says it's also important because the word Deya, Chachma, is placed between two mentionings of Hashem's name. Like it says, Kel Deos Hashem. Hashem is the God of understanding. So it's between the word Kel and the word Hashem. And he also adds, if somebody has no understanding, somebody has no knowledge, somebody who doesn't take care of himself, it is forbidden to have mercy on him. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, they are not people of understanding, and therefore I will have no mercy upon them. Right? That means if they're not willing to take care of themselves, not willing to think about their own needs, then we should not be bothering ourselves with their needs. Now, having mentioned the importance of knowledge because it's between two mentions of Hashem's name, the Gemara brings another thing, which is between two mentions of Hashem's name, and it's Rav Elazar, and he says that the Beis HaMikdash is very important because it also appears between two mentionings of Hashem's name, like it says, Pa'alta Hashem, Mikdash Hashem, Kaninu Yedecha. So it's Hashem, Mikdash Hashem. You made the Beis HaMikdash, Hashem. You, Hashem, made the Beis HaMikdash, Hashem, with your hands. It's between two mentionings of Hashem's name. Then Rav Elazar continues, and he says, look at that. Knowledge and Beis HaMikdash are both mentioned between two mentions of Hashem's name. So you see that anybody who has knowledge, it's as if the Beis HaMikdash was built in his time. Knowledge and Beis HaMikdash are connected. Okay. Now the Gemara says, hold on a second. You're telling me that anything is important if it's placed between two mentions of Hashem's name? Well, what about Nekama? What about revenge? Rav Ada Karchina said it says revenge between two mentions of Hashem's name also. Kel Nekamais Hashem. So the Gemara says, Rav Elazar answered, you're right. Revenge is important. In the right place and in the right time, taking revenge from Hashem's enemies is important. And the Gemara says that in the pasuk Kel Nekamis Hashem, Kel Nekamis Safia, it says it twice. It says Kel Nekamis Hashem, Kel Nekamis Safia. What's the two Nekamis? So the Gemara says one is for good and one is for bad. One is referring to where it says Haifia, it's referring to Haifia Mehar Paran. Right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took revenge on those nations of the world who rejected the Torah. And one is for punishment, like it says Kel Nekamis. That's regular punishment on regular people. Okay, the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah and discusses the Shita of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said that it's in the fourth bracha, it has a fourth bracha of its own. The Gemara says, hold on a second, how do we have a machlokes in the Mishnah where the bracha of Chen and Hadas belongs, where the bracha of Havdalah belongs, in Chen and Hadas, or in Moedim, or in a separate bracha? I understand. The Havdalah and the Shemona Esrei were written by the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah. So let's see where they said it should be. What's the problem? We have a brisa that says that they created the Tefillos and the Kiddushim and the Havdalahs. So how is there a machlokes about this? So the Gemara says what happened was as follows. When Klal Yisrael came out of exile from Golos, they made the bracha of Havdalah and they put it in Tefillah because they couldn't afford wine. And then later they were prosperous and they were able to afford wine. They took the bracha out of Shemona Esrei and put it on wine. But then times got rough again and they wanted to put it back on Shemona Esrei, but now they couldn't remember where it was in Shemona Esrei. So the putting it back into Shemona Esrei, we lost the knowledge of where the Anshe Knesset Havdalah put it, and that's what the machlokes is about. Now the Gemara brings a brisa that spells out this entire discussion, and that proves that this is the correct understanding. The Gemara now begins a discussion of the two Havdalahs. We say Havdalah once in Shemona Esrei and once over a cup of wine. The Gemara wants to know, are these both obligatory? Is only one of them obligatory? And if it's only one, which one's more important? So the Gemara begins with Rabban of Yosef, who say you have to say Havdalah in Shemona Esrei for sure. And then you should also say it over a cup of wine. The Gemara says, what do you mean? We had the brisa that said that if you forgot it in Shemona Esrei, then you don't have to repeat Shemona Esrei because you could say it over a cup of wine. But it's not like Rabban of Yosef who said you are anyway going to say it over a cup of wine. It seems like it's optional. The Gemara says, okay, change the text. It's not that if you forgot it, the brisa it didn't mean to say if you forgot it, you don't have to repeat it in Shemona Esrei. You don't have to, if you forgot it in Shemona Esrei, you don't have to repeat Shemona Esrei because you could say it over a cup of wine, but because you will anyway say it over a cup of wine. And now that'll fit with Rabban of Yosef, who say that one who said in Shemona Esrei still has to say it over a cup of wine. And then the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda bar Yefes said that Rabbi Yosef asked Rabbi Yochanan in Sidon, and some says Rabbi Shimon bar Yaakov and Tzara said Rabbi Yochanan. I heard that one who says Havdalah in Shemona Esrei has to say it over a cup of wine anyway. Is it true? We said, yeah, just like Rabba and Rabbi Yosef saying in Shemona Esrei is important, you still have to say it over a cup of wine. And then the Gemara asks, what if you did the opposite? You said it over a cup of wine. Does that mean you have to say it in Tefillah again? You said Havdalah before Ma'ariv. Do you have to now say Havdalah in Shemona Esrei? The Gemara says, for sure. Tefillah is obviously more important than in Havdalah. Havdalah in Shemona Esrei is more important than Havdalah over a cup of wine. So if you said it in Tefillah in Shemona Esrei, you still have to say it over a cup of wine. Certainly, if you said it over just a cup of wine, you still have to say it in Tefillah. The Gemara accepts that is the halacha. Then the Gemara quotes an interesting statement of Rav Acha Aricha, who quotes a brisa in front of Rav Chinana, who said that somebody who says Havdalah in Shemona Esrei is better than saying it over a cup of wine. So if he says it in both, so then he should get brachos. Versus I don't understand. If it's better to say it in Tefillah, that means he's yaitze the chiyuv of Havdalah by saying it in Tefillah. So then if he says it additionally over a cup of wine, it's a bracha she'enei tzricha. That's forbidden. You're not allowed to say bracha she'enei tzricha. You're over on loisisa. So what does it mean? The Gemara says, no, it means if one says in either or Shemona Esrei or over a cup of wine, he should get brachos, but you should not have to say both of them. Okay, now Rav Chisda asks, what if a person forgot to say both? He skipped Havdalah and he skipped Havdalah and Shemona Esrei. By skipping Havdalah, the Gemara means that he ate before Havdalah. So Rav Sheshes answered Rav Chisda, if he forgot both, he has to go back to the beginning of Shemona Esrei and start Ma'ariv again and say over Shemona Esrei. Okay, Ravina asked Rava all this discussion, what's halacha l'maisa? He said you have to say both in Shemona Esrei and over a cup of wine, just like Kiddush Friday night. We say Kiddush is part of Friday night Shemona Esrei, and we say it over a cup of wine as well. Okay, the Gemara now returns to discussing what the halacha is. The Gemara is pretty confident that the halacha is that we say the bracha of Havdalah in Chen and Hadas, even though there are two other opinions. There's the Chachamim who say that, but there's also Rabbi Lezer who says you say it in Moedim, and Rabbi Kiva who says that it gets its own bracha. Where it says, what about in a Matzah Shabbos Ma'ariv which falls on Yontif? Then there is no Chen and Hadas. So where do you say it there? The Gemara says Rav Zera was riding on a donkey and Rav Chibar Avin was following him, and he said, is it true that you said that when there's no Chen and Hadas because it's a Yontif Shemona Esrei Matzah Shabbos, is it true that the halacha is like Rabbi Lezer that you say it in Moedim? So he said, yeah, that's the halacha. So Gemara says, hold on a second. You're implying that somebody argues on that. But who argues on that? If there's no Chen and Hadas, who argues? So Gemara says, what do you mean? The Chachamim argue. The Chachamim say you say it in Chen and Hadas. Gemara says, No. If it's Yantif, there is no Chayna to that. So Gemara says, okay, but Rabbi Akiva for sure. Rabbi Akiva says it gets its own bracha. So it could get its own bracha in a weekday Shemoneh Esrei. It could also get its own bracha in the end of Shemoneh Esrei. The Gemara says we don't take Rabbi Akiva into account. We don't paskin like him during a weekday Shemoneh Esrei because it says 18 brachas. It doesn't say 19. And we don't paskin like him on the end of Shemoneh Esrei because it says only 7 brachas. We don't say 8. So we don't have to take that into account. Okay, now the Gemara says, well, hold a second. We're not clear if the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer that it's moidim, or we just said that it's matim. Now, matim means we lean to that opinion. Moidim means that is the opinion, like what Rabbi Eliezer said. We say it in moidim. The word is not clear. What was the word that they said? Matim, I mean, we're leaning that way, or moidim, that is the halacha. What's the difference between leaning that way or it is the halacha? The difference is that you announce it in the shir that this is the halacha. Just if somebody comes over and asks you, so that's what you tell him. So the Gemara quotes Rabbi Avdimi, who said that it's matim, we lean this way, and Rabbi Chia bar Abba also said that way. The Gemara says you should rely on Rabbi Chia bar Abba because Rabbi Chia bar Abba was very exacting in quoting what his Rebbe said. If he wouldn't confuse matim and moedim, you even see when he quoted Rabbi Yehuda, who discusses how the setup of the Beis Medrash on Har Habayis looked. He said that it was two stavs and not two itztabas, which are similar words, but he was careful to quote it correctly. Stav and itztaba both refer to a row of chairs or benches, but he was careful to have the word correct. Now, the Gemara says, Rav Yosef said, listen, I don't know what the halacha is about whether you say it in a separate bracha or you say it in moedim when you're trying to say Havdalah on a Yontif night because it's after Shabbos, but I'll tell you there is one specific bracha that Rav and Shmuel created for this situation, and it's a real pearl, and this is the text of the bracha, and this is what we say. You taught us the rules of your righteousness, and you taught us to do the laws of your will. You bequeathed us times of joy and holidays of celebrations, and you bequeathed us the holiness of Shabbos, the honor of the holiday, and the rejoicing of the Yontif. Between the holiness of Shabbos and Yontif, you separated, and you differentiated between the 7th day and the 6 days of creation. You separated and you made holy the Jewish people with your holiness. And then you continue Vatiten Lanu, and you describe the exact Yontif that we're in. So this is inserted in the Yontif Shemoneh Esrei immediately before the description of the day. This brings us to the next Mishnah. This Mishnah discusses what a person might want to add into his tefillah that we quiet him, we stop him from saying it. So the Mishnah discusses 3 things that we would stop somebody from saying. Number 1 is if he praises HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, your Rachmanis goes on the bird's nest, because of the mitzvah of Shluach HaKain, sending away the mother bird not to take the child. And the second thing is if somebody thanks the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he praises him, Al Toiv Yizachar Shemecha, the good things your name should be mentioned. And the third thing is if somebody says Moedim, he says the word Moedim twice in a row. So the Gemara says, okay, let's understand the reason for all this. Moedim, we understand, because if he's saying thank you, it sounds like there are two, Chas v'shalom, like there are two Rishuyos, two guards of some sort that he's thanking. Chas v'shalom, nothing could be worse than that. And if he says that your name should be praised for the good, so that's not correct. We praise Hashem for the bad as well as for the good. It says Geshem mevarech al tayv, mevarech al hara. So, but what's wrong with saying that your mercy extends to the bird's nest? What's wrong with that? So the Gemara says in Marav and Eretz Yisrael there were 2 different answers given, one by Rabbi Yossi bar Rav and one by Rabbi Yossi bar Zavida. One of them says because the other animals will be jealous of the bird's nest, you are making it sound like HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives it special attention. And the other one says this is not correct. It makes it sound like HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvah is because he had mercy on the bird. It's not true. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvahs are not mercy on anything. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's mitzvahs are gezeros, rules, decrees of what he said, and don't try to figure out what the reason for it might be. The Gemara quotes a couple of incidents here. The Gemara says somebody was the chazan in front of Rabbah, and he said this. He said, your mercy is on the bird's nest. And Rabbah said, oh, Gavaldi, great tefillah. He knows how to be mispal before his master. And Abai was there, and Abai said, what do you mean? It's not the halacha. The halacha is you're supposed to stop somebody from saying that. Gemara says Rabba was aware of that as well. He was only testing Abaye to see if he knew that. Another incident, the Gemara says somebody was the Chazan in front of Rav Chanina, and when he was saying Shemona Esrei, instead of just saying the words that we have in Shemona Esrei, which are Hakel Hagadol Gibra Faneira, he added, he said Hakel Hagadol Gibra Faneira, Ha'adir V'Ha'ozuz V'Ha'Yaroi Ha'Chazok V'Ha'amitz V'Ha'Vadai V'Ha'Nechbod, the whole list. So the Gemara said Rabbi Chanina was upset. He waited until the man finished his tefillah, and then he said, excuse me, what do you have a right to say all these things? We wouldn't be allowed to say anything if not for the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu said it and the Anshe Knesset Haggadayla organized it into the tefillah. But if we say anything, we're for sure saying something wrong because we're not saying enough. You can never say enough about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we can only say this because Moshe said it and the Anshe Knesset Haggadayla said it. But for you to start adding things, making up your own things, that means you're saying this is how much praise he gets and not more. It's terrible. It's like somebody who praises a king who has thousands and thousands of gold dinarim and he says, oh, you have a lot of silver. That's insulting. Now, Rabbi Chanina also said, the Gemara continues, everything is in the hands of Shemayim, Kol B'dei Shemayim, except for your Shemayim. Fear of heaven is a human responsibility. Don't ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that. The Gemara says, how do you know? Because it says, Moshe said to Klal Yisrael, what does Hashem want from you? To fear Hashem. So you see, it's up to us. The Gemara says, what do you mean? Why is Moshe saying that's all he wants? That's not an easy thing. It's a very hard thing. Right? We have a quote that says that is the Yiras Hashem, he oitzaroi, that's his treasure. It's a hard thing. The Gemara says, yeah, for Moshe it was a small thing. Because Moshe had it. The Gemara gives a mashal. If you have a certain kli, you have a certain utensil, a certain tool, so it seems to you like it's not a big deal. But if you don't have it, then it's a tremendous deal. Okay, the Gemara goes back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said that if somebody says Moedim, then we silence him. The Gemara says if somebody says Moedim or Shema, then we stop him. You don't repeat those things. It sounds like there are two rishiyos, there's a division of power, chas v'shalom. So the Gemara says, well, hold on, we have a Brachos that says that somebody who says Shema it's not correct. It's maguna. It's reprehensible. It's disgusting. But it doesn't say that we silence him. The Gemara says, okay, there's two different ways of repeating Shema. It could be that repeating every word, Shema, Shema, Hashem, Hashem, Lakeinu, Lakeinu, that we stop him. That really sounds like two rishuyos. But if he just says the entire pasuk of Shema, and then he says the whole thing again, it's reprehensible, it's not correct, but we don't stop him. The Gemara says, what Rav Papa asked Abaye, hold on a second, maybe the reason why he's repeating is because the first time he didn't have kavanah the right way, and now he's repeating it so he should have kavanah again. So Abaye said back, look, what, you don't have kavanah, so you repeat it again? What is this, a game? You play around, you keep repeating it until you get it right. We teach people how to get it right the first time, and if they don't get it right, we beat them over the head with a blacksmith hammer until they get it right. Make sure you get it right. You don't just keep trying. You can't just repeat psukim whenever you want.